touch the string, though the heart may not sing, still I dig the sky for sunsparks to guide.
I know I look and sound a bit inebriated. That is because I have been at my next door neighbor's house doing some DIY, and also I have been walking around my block because, let's face it, I'm a fat fuck and I'm trying to lose weight. So shut up. Let us begin the topics video. Chris Hansen. He was beloved by many, feared by many, and now disappointed by many, given the recent events involving these two absolute cretins. But how did Chris Hansen become the man, the myth, the legend himself back in the day? Well, ladies and gents, why don't you have a seat right over there? To Catch a Predator.
We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be.
Hey everybody, this is Atticus the Death Metaler, and welcome to another longly awaited episode of the Death Metal Historian. Here in this episode, we're going to be tackling down the history of one of the most craziest segments off of Dateline NBC, To Catch a Predator. My god, this show was quite something, and honestly the inspiration of doing this episode was when Count Dankula did his absolute Mad Lads off of the Bum Fights crew, and it made me remind me of when I watched all those episodes of To Catch a Predator and I was just losing my shit. But I will get more into all that. So before we start this video, Stone Phillips.
A warning, some of what you're about to see is explicit.
I can remember back in 2006, I was just 14 years old, and my older brother would introduce me to something that would change my life forever. Social media. But more specifically, the social media site that I was introduced to the absolute wonders of social media that I would look at the future was MySpace. And all of you guys know that back then, MySpace was the absolute shit. I could just remember just going through all the Facebook bands that I was forbidden to listen to because, let's face it, I was like hardcore Catholic back then. And then I would discover new bands over in 2007, which I would call the Golden Awakening. But MySpace back then, when I first discovered, it was a huge awakening to a lot of stuff. And when I mean a lot of stuff, I mean a fucking lot of stuff. I mean, I would chat online with my friends. I would also just customize my profile, my MySpace profile with like really cringy ass Lord of the Rings, God of War, and Naruto, you know, shit here and there. Yeah, I was a major weeaboo back then and shit. But yeah, life was good. Life was really good. And that was until my parents soon caught on to me and my brother's social media antics. And oh boy, they were losing their collective shit. Why is that? Well, they have been fear-mongered by a little segment off of Dateline NBC known as To Catch a Predator. For those of you who are unaware and living under a Dwayne Johnson, which I highly fucking doubt, To Catch a Predator was a special off of Dateline NBC where it was a public service announcement to all American families across the nation the dangers of your children using the internet because of the influx and the new nationwide epidemic, which it wasn't white supremacists nor Islamic terrors, it was internet predators going through the internet, soliciting your children for sex or even worse. So Dateline made this little public service announcement to all of American families across the nation that this was going on. So it started off with good intentions, but then it basically became Bum Fights Light, which I will later explain down onto this video. So that was my little introduction off of To Catch a Predator. But the rest of the video, I'm gonna call it by its acronym, TCAP. So let us continue forward. So if I'm going to talk about the story of To Catch a Predator properly, we're gonna have to go back in time to 2003. Now, two things I will indeed say changed everything forever when it came to 2003. High-speed internet and social media. Now, don't get me wrong, high-speed internet I do believe came around towards August 23rd, 1991. For those of you who know when it first started out, please let me know in the live chat or in the comments below. Like, I am free, like, all of you guys can correct me. Please let me know if I'm wrong. Those were the two things that changed everything for the internet. Now, when it comes to social media, I do believe that the first social networking site was called Friendster, but it had a lot of fucking problems and it died. And MySpace basically took up from what Friendster started and became this one major template for all social networks in the future. So there was like, I mean, Facebook started in 2004, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Discord, YouTube were not around back then. And of course, YouTube started around in 2006. So this was a pretty exciting time that social media was just getting its start. But back then, people were still using Yahoo chat rooms, AOL chat rooms and stuff. And not to mention, you would have to go onto the internet. I remember doing AOL at my parents' house, and I would have to hear this shit. All the damn time, it was a pain in the ass. During this time period, 2003, a lot of very exciting things were happening. But just as much as a lot of exciting things were happening on the internet, there was a lot of bad things happening on the internet. And of course, the internet back then, even though it was exciting, it was also the wild, wild west. So gone were the days of child predators luring children at the playgrounds, bus stops, theaters, arcades, all that. They had a new hunting ground, and it was the World Wide Web. And so there were a lot of cases going around of children meeting someone online and being sexually molested or even worse. So who was going to take up and actually warn the public upon this nationwide epidemic? Well, Dateline took the offer. And who was going to tell this story? A man by the name of Chris Hansen. Now, before Christopher Edward Hansen became the man, the myth, the legend himself, he was already a very experienced and a veteran journalist. He has done television for over 22 years during this time frame, or 20-something else years in this time frame during this time. He has done such stories like that of Columbine, Oklahoma City. Watch the video down in the description below. The Unabomber, and of course did a lot of coverage onto the 9/11 attacks. So during this time period, Chris Hansen was already a veteran in the trenches when it came to journalism. But this story was going to make him as well as destroy him down the line. And so they already had their man telling the story, but they also needed a little bit more help. And so they sought help with an unlikely group of people, Perverted Justice. Now, Perverted Justice is an online watchdog vigilante group that were mostly made up of former victims of child abuse and sexual assault, where they would go online, make fake profiles, and solicit men, predators, for sex, and then bust the shit out of them. During this time period, law enforcement did not have the time nor resources to do this undertaking, while Perverted Justice pretty much had all the time in the world to do all this shit. So this was like relatively new territory onto tackling down child predators. So NBC teamed up with Perverted Justice. They had their man telling the story. So then it was pedophile season. The first episode of To Catch a Predator aired in 2003. And oh boy, did shit get real. So To Catch a Predator ran through 12 episodes from 2003 to 2007. It did numerous episodes of these following places: Bethpage, Long Island, Fairfax, Virginia, Riverside County, California, Greenville, Ohio, Fort Myers, Florida, Fortson, Georgia, Petaluma, California, Long Beach, California, Murphy, Texas, Flagler Beach, Florida, Ocean County, New Jersey, and the last episode being Bowling Green, Kentucky. So how did every episode work? And it was a one-trick pony for each episode, but they were all entertaining as fucking hell, my guy. So what they would do, they would set up the Sting House, where there would be the crew for Dateline NBC, Perverted Justice, and Chris Hansen. For the first 2 episodes, it was just those people. So what they would do is that they would allow Perverted Justice to make their fake online accounts onto chat rooms and MySpace and TeenSpot, which I don't even know why TeenSpot became a thing. And they basically made these fake online profiles to solicit men online for sex. So they would chat pretty much a long ass time with all of these potential predators, and almost every goddamn time it would be a normal little chat, and then the suspect would quickly change the topic to sex. Basically like this.
What you looking for?
I don't know. You?
Well, hot sex, what else? I have an older friend who wants a virgin.
Oh.
Yeah, bad.
How old is he?
35. You're only 13? Damn, you're a little hottie.
Hi, and thanks.
I want to be your first, baby.
Okay.
You gonna put my in your mouth? 'Cause I like that.
I guess I can try it.
Just let me drive, baby. I'll show you heaven. I like to pleasure people and be pleasured. I just don't chat. I meet. I want to know, if I meet you, you will let me pleasure you?
Sounds fun.
I want to be top.
Oh, okay.
You want to do it raw?
Raw?
Yes.
What's that?
No rubber.
And almost always, as much as gratuitous and graphic the chats would be, they would always send the dick pics. Like, could you just imagine being a decoy for Perverted Justice and having to see so many goddamn fucking dicks being exposed to porn sites and stuff, and just having the 1,000-yard dick stare all the damn... Okay, I should stop. I should fucking stop. They would set up a date for the Predators to meet at the Sting House, and almost always you would see the Predators come in with food, stuff to do and stuff, and also lube and condoms, because most of the time the Predators were always asking for the anal sex. I mean, don't all of us love the anal sex because we don't want to get the female pregnant? Okay, I should stop. I should fucking stop. The Predators coming into the house would expect a really fine looking underage girl or boy, but then their heart stops when they see the man himself, Chris Hansen.
Okay. Would you do me a favor and just go ahead and seat right everything else in the bar, please?
And they know, shit, I'm in fucking trouble. And so remember, they would chat all these Predators online. And unbeknownst to the Predators, Chris Hansen would have in his hands the transcript of the entire chat. So you know, shit was going to get fucking real. And Chris would just be roasting the shit out of these potential Predators, and almost always you would have these Predators always making these same fucking excuses. I would never do something like this. You know, this is my first time doing something like this. I would never do such a thing. I mean, come on. I'm a family man. I have a son and a daughter about the same age of the child that I'm going to diddle. That just makes you sound even fucking worse. And so right after Chris would roast the fuck out of them, he would bring out this famous line right here.
With Dateline NBC.
Oh, I understand.
And we're doing a story on adults going on the internet, trying to hook up with teens.
Right.
Now,
see the cameras coming in and everything.
And so, as I mentioned, the first 2 episodes, it was just Chris Hansen, the crew, and Perverted Justice. And so those 2 episodes, they let the Predators go. Up until the 3rd episode where Chris goes, fuck that shit. Let's team up with law enforcement. So, all the way from Riverside, California to Bowling Green, Kentucky, they had law enforcement come in and arrest these motherfuckers and send them to the slammer for good. And that was basically the one-trick pony out of every single episode. And To Catch a Predator became an icon. Like, To Catch a Predator became very popular within pop culture. You would have Saturday Night Live doing some skits involving To Catch a Predator. You would have shows like South Park and Boondocks doing parodies of To Catch a Predator. And even with the onset of YouTube, when it was just getting its very start at its beginnings, YouTube, you would have the typical people making viral videos of just To Catch a Predator episodes. And it was getting really popular, and a lot of people were really thanking Dateline and Chris Hansen for the hard work. And what's even much more funny onto the Predators, all the Predators from the other episodes, they all watched the show, and yet they bought into the tricks of TCAP. And it happened almost every fucking goddamn episode prior to the first two, and it was just hilarious. But what was really interesting about To Catch a Predator, TCAP, is that when they first started the show, automatically people were thinking that, oh, we're gonna be busting the usual middle-aged man in his 40s wearing a tank top, unemployed, looking like a fat fuck, and is just looking like a disgusting slob piece of shit, wanting to diddle kids and stuff. But with TCAP, they discovered something very interesting and also very shocking. They discovered that a lot of the Predators that they were chatting online and entering the sting houses and doing background checks of the Predators they were busting, they were actually very prominent members of the community. And when I mean prominent members of the community, I am talking about people like doctors, firemen, teachers, businessmen, consultants, plumbers, computer technicians, welders, and even our boys from all military branches, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, all of them, they were busted by TCAP. So it really just showed to the populace that Predators come from all walks of life, all ages, backgrounds, races, ethnicities, religions, all that stuff. They got them all. Which, speaking of that, let us talk about some of my favorite Predators throughout TCAP's history. Just because I say favorite Predators does not mean that I like or idolize these guys. Like, without a doubt, these people are scummy on what they were planning to do with the supposed decoy. So I'm not letting that slide at all whatsoever. But what I'm specifically talking about is that how they acted and stuff, and just moments off of the show, made me laugh so hard, and just pure comedy entertainment for all of these Predators. So I am just listing down all of my favorite Predators throughout TCAP's history. The first one being Lee Greer, aka Lee Greer 74. Now, pretty much he was a guy off of the Fort Myers sting, and what is really notable about this guy is how he would say this.
What did you bring?
Double cheeseburgers with no pickles.
And also when he was arrested by the law enforcement was when he said this.
Let me see your hand. Oh, Lord.
That's kind of why I liked him. Another guy, which actually was the first man that they busted at the Fort Myers operation, Michael Willis, aka generic white male. just the way this guy was dressed, and also when he met with Chris Hansen, he was like,
"What are you doing here today?
Is this some kind of setup or something?
What do you mean?
I'm just on my way to the beach."
And how did you meet her?
Well, of course, online. What? No way.
You know, I have the transcript of your conversation with Jolanda.
You know what? I don't want this cookie. I just want to get to the beach.
Come here, just 1 second, sir.
As he heads out the back, he stumbles off the porch right into the arms of the Fort Myers Police Department.
These are home baked. The next predator on the list is Alonzo Way, aka Alonzo 403. He is the first predator that they caught at the Greenville, Ohio sting case. And the reason why I like him is because of this right here.
All I want to do is party. You're trying to find a pedophile. I'm not.
But you're here.
I'm here to party. 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 I'm here to party.
The next predator on the list is Lorne Armstrong. Now, Lorne Armstrong was on the final episode of TCAP with the Bowling Green, Kentucky episode, and all the days that he decided to go into the sting house, he decided to do it on his birthday. And which really, I'm like, why the fuck would you ever go do something like that on your birthday? Because every other day, when it's your birthday, you're gonna be reminded of that. But the reason why a lot of people like Lorne Armstrong is because of this, what he says right here.
What you doing? Well, there's something I gotta tell you. I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on Now you're.
And not to mention that there was like a meme page off of Facebook called the Church of Cod, which he has just memed the fuck out of death off of that Facebook page. The next predator on our list is Paul Clemente, the Filipino 22-year-old virgin off of Long Beach, California. The reason why a lot of people like myself love to roast, laugh at this guy is because when he goes in the sting house, he has the perfect set of English with a decoy.
I'll be right back.
Take your time.
I'm excited, by the way.
Me too.
But when Chris Hansen comes around, he just brings out the Filipino, the pure Filipino out of this guy.
So you excited too? How you doing?
I'm sorry.
No, why don't you have a seat right there? I need to ask
I'm
you a couple
sorry.
questions.
I'm sorry.
Why don't you have a seat?
I'm sorry.
Please have a seat.
She said so excited to see me.
She said she was excited to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said so excited to see me.
I know. I need you to stay right over there, though.
I didn't say anything bad, sir.
You didn't say anything bad.
Sir, please.
I'd like you to take a look.
Sir, please.
Did you send that to her?
Sir, please. I'm not a really bad person, sir. Please. Yeah.
You say, are you good doing it in a hot tub? Doing what? You say the sex.
No.
I can see you naked?
Sir, please.
Sir, please! The next predator, oh my god. Oh my god. I just, words cannot describe how rich this next predator is. David Shumacher, off of the Fort Myers episode. He is basically every generic fucking wigger-ass Floridian male that I have grown up with back in the early to mid 2000s. Just every generic wigger motherfucker that I grew up with. And my god, the shit that he says off of the sting house, and the fact that he came to the sting house with his older sister and two, babies in the car. In the fucking car. What a great guy. What a fucking great guy.
Hey, NBC, 2 words, role playing, chat room, dude, because the girl was role playing, man.
The next guy on our list, Edward Hollingsworth, aka Twink Toilet, off of Murphy, Texas. You know, I'm just gonna play this right here. I'm just gonna play this right here on the reason why that this guy makes me laugh so hard.
You said that you love to be used by young boys. Is that true? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you read down further in the line, it's fantasy.
But explain to me what that means to be used by young boys. And then you say love dirty boys, B-O-I-S, who love getting freaky. Now, what does that last part mean?
Again, fantasy takes of reality.
And now we're down to one of my favorites, Robert Salinas, aka Bob 1028 2001. There's nothing really special about Robert Salinas except, well, actually there's one thing, which is this right here.
Maybe I'll bring ice cream. I can put it on you and eat it off your body.
Ben and Jerry's Funky Monkey?
Okay, then you can lick it off me.
It never gets old. It never gets fucking old. The next predator Yazan asked for, aka slave to mistresses, which you can tell by his online screen name. You know what he likes. And this dude was a Jordanian basketball team member visiting Flagler Beach, Florida. And it was on that one part of the Flagler Beach episode where he was with Safraz Khan, Tennis Boy 218, I think his screen name was. So it was a double feature of these two. And oh my god. Just some of the stuff that he says is just fucking hilarious. The next predator on our list is one of the legends, Marvin Lackhan, aka Crazy Trini 85. He is one of the legends off of TCAP, off of the Fort Myers episode, because he was not only one of the last guys that they busted at the Fort Myers sting. Basically, he wanted to do sex acts with this young girl, with her and a cat and Cool Whip, and then goes all the way, once entering the sting house, strips all of his clothes naked, and just goes into kill, not only to open the door expecting a young girl, but Chris Hansen. My god. My fucking god. Now we're down to two of some of my favorite predators. The number 2 one is obviously everyone's favorite predator. But it wouldn't be a favorite predator list off of the TCAP community without Jeffrey Stacy. Single guy TX for fun. The reason why a lot of people find this guy so fucking hilarious, it's actually because of this.
You ask her if she's horny.
What's wrong with that?
You ask if she does anal.
It's a question.
I know, but you're asking a question to somebody who identified themselves as an underage girl.
It's just talking. I don't see the internet and real life are two different things.
But Jeffrey Stacy, he does not compare that to what I would consider the fucking legend off of TCAP. Special Guy 29, aka John motherfucking Kennelly. This guy is a legend off of TCAP. Because not only did he do the same thing as Marvin Lackhan did, but also he went around saying that, oh, I'm a teacher of a very prestigious school. Oh no, I'm a bus driver, but I'm actually fucking unemployed. But he goes into the house completely naked and completely roasts the shit out of John Kennelly. So you would think that after that embarrassment, John Kennelly would never do something like this again. But the next day, he gets back online, solicits another decoy, and then sets up a date not at the Sting House, but at McDonald's. And so Chris Hansen just goes, fuck it, I'm just gonna give him a piece of my mind at the McDonald's. And we're left with this beautiful footage right here.
I have been in television for 24 years.
I just came to get something to eat.
And I have very seldom been at a loss for words.
Sir, I just came to get something to eat.
But I don't even know what to ask you first.
I just came to get something to eat.
John, we've been through this before. What are you doing? I've got the chat log again.
What a fucking legend. Oh my god, I love this dude. I fucking love this dude. Even though he's a fucking scummy motherfucker, it's just... oh god. Oh my fucking god. But aside from all of the funny shit that TCAP did, it didn't overshadow the part that it had to do a lot of serious stuff. And it busted a lot of men that were actually dangers to society. Which we're gonna go to our next segment, the hated predators. And now that I have mentioned to you all the predators that made me laugh so hard watching TCAP, I'm going to be bringing forth the predators that made me cringe made me angry and just made me just want to line them all up against the wall. It's a lot shorter than the ones that made me laugh, but I just have to let you guys know that these are some of the people that really disturbed as well as made me very angry. The first one in question, Jeff Kotter in Petaluma, California. You know, fine looking gentleman, a carpenter, but once he finally gets to see Chris Hansen, he just unloads the kitchen sink of all of his fucking fantasies and stuff. And all the predators, I mean, all the predators are just like, I would never do this, I would never do that. This guy just comes fucking clean and is bluntly honest, which I admire his honesty, but, like, my God.
I'll tell you, I spent a lot of time online in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Developing these stupid fantasies. And I actually went so far a few months ago as to delete my ideas, just get rid of it all.
You knew you had a problem.
I knew I had a problem. And then the other day, I got back online.
He just lets it all out, and it's just very terrifying. And not to mention, he didn't even know who Chris Hansen was and thought he was a detective. But it's just really scary on how this guy shows no fear in just letting all of his fantasies out. The next predator, Clifford Wallach, aka PhotoFix, off of Fort Myers, Florida. Now, the reason why I put this guy over here is he was just the one guy that does the typical stuff onto a decoy. But the reason why I want to drop kick him down the Joker stairs is because he goes into the Sting house, bringing forth his toddler son.
Oh no. Oh my God. He brought his son with him. He's got his child with him.
Why? Why would you fucking do that? And of course, Chris Hansen, for the sake of the little boy, he just straight up tells him what's going on.
I gotta tell you something, and I'm gonna tell you just straight up right now. I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC. We're doing a story on adults eating children, and since you have your child here, I'm not going to pursue this. Okay. But I think you know what you were doing here, don't you? My point is, because your child is here, I think it'd be best if you just went ahead and left.
Yeah, I agree. Could you just imagine the mom just going, "Are you Mrs. Wallach? Your son is at the station. Your husband has done some stuff. We'll explain." Could you just imagine that? The next person, Michael Warker. I'm not going to say his screen name. I'm going to let Chris Hansen let you know his screen name.
29-year-old Michael Warker, an unemployed computer technician, uses the frightening screen name, "Can I Rape You Anally?"
Alright, buddy, shit just went from 0 to 100 real fucking quick.
That's all I gotta say. The next person, Todd Spikes, off of Flagler Beach, Florida, loves to eat your peach. Now the reason why I put this guy on the list is that even though that he was saying some fucked up fantasies of like fucking the decoy's mother and then fucking her after he was done with her and shit like that, they basically arrested him realizing that he carries a gun, and holy shit, they saw a huge fucking arsenal of weaponry in his car. So basically he was like retired law enforcement or something like that, but I mean, you just never know what these people are going, like what their intentions are and what they're gonna bring with them. And that's just, I mean, every TCAP episode, they literally lay their lives down the line for these sting operations. The next person is a classic, David K. Now, when it comes to men of faith, because they've captured a lot of people of the faith, they're mostly of the Christian faith. And David K was a sick, twisted work and all the stuff that he involved himself with, sending the decoy pics of him naked as well as performing oral sex on another man. And when he finally comes in, we realize what he is, a rabbi of the Jewish faith. And so this guy, out of all of the members of the community that they busted, the rabbi guy was one of the big shots they caught him off. And then we go over to Change for the Better 2005, Kevin Westerbeck. Or as the TCAP community calls him, Kevin Molesterbeck. I fucking hate this midget-ass looking motherfucker. Kevin Westerbeck was already set for the Slammer in 4 days prior to him getting caught by the Greenville case. And if you thought that was not horrible enough, there was a sergeant, David Atkins, trying to charge him for over a year for rape, but was not able to because he had to wait on certain records to fully charge his small ass. And if you still think I'm going way too hard on Tyrion Lannister's bastard brother, the victim was his young niece, who slept with him for comfort during a thunderstorm, and instead of comforting her, he fucking raped her. Yeah, but nothing can compare to what I would consider the #1 most depraved fuck that TCAP has ever busted off of this show. Joe Wonderler. This guy was a sick, depraved, twisted piece of work. And the reason why I say that is because this guy's intentions was to do a lot of depraved, sick shit to an underage girl with a dog being involved. Now, Perverted Justice's website is still out there, but I've read the chat log of Joe Wonderler, and let's just say that I was almost ready to slit my wrists in a cold shower. That's how fucking disgusting Joe Wonderler's chat was. My God, just making me think of this shit. I don't. My God. On to the next segment. Now, I mentioned that the final episode of TCAP aired in 2007 and it was set in Bowling Green, Kentucky. But personally, to a lot of people like myself of the TCAP community, the death of TCAP happened in the Murphy, Texas episode. Murphy was an absolute shit show. Now let me explain. The reason why it became a shit show was because a lot of members of the community in Murphy were doing like protests outside the Sting house, spooking a lot of predators. Also, the predators were just circling around the Sting house with their cars, thinking that they were gonna be smart, but in truth, in Texas, if you solicit a minor for sex, you've already committed a felony and the cops would automatically go to your house. They would have an arrest warrant for you, and yeah, that would basically be it. How they handled most of all the arrests was just absolutely amateurish. And you would think that with a state like Texas, they would be, you know, hardcore into that shit, but no. It's not the fact at all whatsoever. Murphy was an absolute shit show. But what made things even much worse is what I'm going to bring up next. Now remember what I said earlier. They caught a lot of prominent members of the community on this series. They caught doctors, they caught former men of the law, military members, welders, plumbers, computer technicians, prominent members of the community. But nothing compared to what I would consider the hay of the needle stack when it came to this episode. Lewis Conrad II, an assistant district attorney. This shit, oh boy, there is a lot to talk about, and at the same time, not a whole lot, but let me try to explain everything here. Lewis just so happened to be one of the many men who hit up on one of the many decoys off of Perverted Justice. While all this was going on, the team was doing multiple background checks, which to a lot of the law enforcement's dismay, they all confirmed that yes, this was Lewis Conrad off of Terrell, Texas. However, Lewis did not show up to the Sting house, obviously, but under Texas law, as I stated earlier, if you solicit a minor for sex online, you have already committed a felony. So they were kicking things overdrive like Jason Statham on Crank 2 High Voltage. And why do I say that? Well, PJ says that he decided to stop chatting with the decoy, and then they all start to notice that he deleted his MySpace page. So they all put 2 and 2 together that
he's on to us.
So Dateline, PJ, and the law wanted to get to him first before he wiped everything off of his hard drive. So they had left the sting house and made it over to Conrad's residence. They were hoping to speak to him when he got out of his house, yet he never came out. So after a lot of back and forth on issuing an arrest warrant that had errors written all over, they were given the green light to go. They at first let an officer who was a longtime friend of Conrad open the door, but he did not respond. So they decided to use a TAC team to storm in the house. As they entered the residence, they saw Conrad out of the hallway with something in his hand. His last words were, "I don't want to hurt anybody." And I think you all know what happened.
So we tracked him down to his house. And you know what he did? He shot himself.
Long story short, Conrad died from a self-inflicted wound in the hospital. NBC was later sued by Conrad's sister for over $105 million, but NBC originally stated her case had no merit. But a judge allowed the case to continue forward with the jury's blessing. NBC settled out of court with her for an undisclosed amount. And there is so much more I could talk about this whole situation, but it would take forever, and I mean days, for me to talk everything about it. So if you want to get the whole picture, I have this link off of Esquire down in the description below. I will have to agree that this episode was what a lot of people would consider to be the death of TCAP, because a lot of people blamed Chris, Dateline, the Murphy Police Department, and PJ for this man offing himself. Now, to a lot of people, it would be easy to be like, yeah, good riddance for this one pedophile just offing himself. But at the same time, like, this really was the death of TCAP. Part of me wishes that this guy would just be arrested by the book, and even though him being locked up would be another death sentence in itself, because, like, let's be frank over here, pedophiles and child molesters are the lowest of the low when it comes to society, Western society. Part of me does believe, like, yeah, good riddance, but at the same time, there is just a lot more that we do not know about this guy, and that is what I would consider the death of TCAP. But another reason why TCAP died and what caused more or less the death of TCAP is with a lot of other reporters accusing Dateline of nothing more than just improving their ratings instead of relying on journalistic ethics, which is kind of why I like to bring up my series, The Crucifixion of the Mainstream Media. But one CBS reporter by the name of Brian Montopoli stated in this article saying this: "It can be extremely difficult to discuss journalistic ethics when dealing with a topic such as this. Dateline, many would agree, is exposing predators and getting them off the streets. And so high-minded debates about the ethics of the program's methods do not come into the equation. I am sympathetic to the argument, and indeed, I find the actions of the men featured in the program disturbing. But I don't think we can abandon questions of journalistic conduct just because our first instinct is that the ends justify the means." So if you want to read down that article, I have another link to that article down in the description below if you want to read more. So yeah, this is just one of the many factors. Constant criticisms of reporters and that Murphy, Texas sting, which pretty much were the demise of TCAP. After 2007, TCAP officially ended, thus resulting in the end of TCAP. Now, about Perverted Justice. Now, I found this very funny, and I actually have some articles that you should look down in the description below, but Perverted Justice, after the whole sting with TCAP, and if that wasn't enough, Perverted Justice blew over $1.2 million of its money. And even though, yes, they are a non-profit organization, the founder of the organization, Xavier Von Erich, spent a good chunk of the money that was loaned to NBC on himself, his friends, and his site. Now, is Perverted Justice still online? Yeah, it is still online, and you can look up on all of the chat logs of all the predators that were caught under the TCAP investigations. For Chris Hansen himself. Chris Hansen has been through a lot of tough stuff after TCAP. I think he was living by himself, didn't have a lot of money, but I can definitely say that he had a fling with a young Florida associate, which, I mean, come on, it's the pedo slayer himself. Like, any chick would want to have a fling with Chris Hansen. Am I right? But the problem was, Chris Hansen was a married man, and he was caught red-handed. Oh man. Also another thing, I think he was caught filing a counterfeit check. A lot of people really didn't hear that much off of Chris Hansen until Chris Hansen came out of the blue and claimed,
"There's something you need to know. I'm Chris Hansen, and you are going to help me catch predators again."
In which he started a Kickstarter campaign, which sold over, I think, somewhat over $9,000 and something. And yeah, Hansen vs. Predator went on for a short stick, but it didn't really last that long. It didn't have the charm and the amazement of TCAP that it had over on the past 2 decades. It really wasn't that special at all whatsoever. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Chris Hansen and TCAP and all that stuff, but it just didn't really hit that well. Also in 2017, he became the host of a show or like a channel, I think, called Crime Watch Daily, in which he put in his own shtick of Hansen vs. Predator on there. So that was the thing going on. But then, around late 2019, Chris Hansen decided to go onto YouTube and have his own channel called Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. And there he decided to do interviews with people like Repsion, Blair White, Shiloh, everybody that was affected, of course, by the one and only Onision. And then around the start and the beginning of 2020, he began to do interviews with people that were affected by Davi Vanity. And after watching this one video by Repsion, it looks like that Hansen took all of those interviews that he has done and then claimed the rights to the Onision story to the Investigation Discovery channel, claiming that it was his story. Now, Chris, I'm sorry to say this, but you're nothing new, man. I mean, this is stuff that we have been regurgitating on those people for years. Now, yes, I am very well aware that I am talking about Onision and Davi Vanity, but it's just like a lot of people have been regurgitating the same shit over and over and over again onto these two people, and it's just, you're nothing new. We were expecting you to be like, oh, we're gonna get the FBI to investigate on this, not just cover your own story and stuff. And that is pretty much why a lot of people right now have lost a lot of respect onto Chris Hansen, especially towards victims of Davi Vanity, feeling like that, yeah, they felt like they were being used by Chris Hansen. So it's very unfortunate. And just like what Harvey Dent said in The Dark Knight,
you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Which, it's kind of very unfortunate. The legacy of TCAP is quite a very interesting one. I mean, when the internet first started to get very popular to a lot of people, it was the wild, wild west back then. But nowadays, a lot of people are really careful on who they talk to and solicit with online, especially onto most of the social media sites. But back then, it was clearly the wild, wild west. And Chris Hansen on Dateline to Catch a Predator changed almost everything when it came to online internet safety, on how your children learn how to use the internet, and also it changed a lot of stuff onto law enforcement on how they tackle and handle sex crimes, internet sex crimes, because back then they did not have the funding that Perverted Justice did back in the day. And nowadays you have a lot of people in law enforcement doing the very same thing that TCAP did all those years ago. TCAP, to a lot of people, is still a cultural icon, especially to me and some of my friends, which are now known as the TCAP community, and where a lot of people group together and meme and laugh and make fun of all the creeps that were busted off of the TCAP series, and just make memes and laugh and joke and quote all this stuff onto the TCAP community. I mean, me and one of my best friends, Chris, when we talk about TCAP, we do not fucking stop. That is how crazy and hilarious of a show that TCAP was. But also, it was very important to a lot of people that, yeah, this is shit that goes on online and stuff. So, despite what you think about Chris Hansen nowadays, you cannot deny the fact that he really did change a lot of things for the positive and the negative. And TCAP will continue to be a cultural icon for many decades to come. So what'd you guys think about this episode of the Death Metal Historian? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Are you part of the TCAP community? How old were you when you had your first social media account? How old were you when you first started watching TCAP? Leave it down in the comments below. And just so you know, I have a Discord server down in the description below, and one of my channels is a discussion on the Death Metal Historian. If you have any suggestions, you can leave it down on the YouTube comments as well as give me recommendations on my Discord. So I hope to see you all soon. Just let me know it's you guys. So there's that. Without further ado, ladies and gents, I am Atticus the Death Metaler. Hope you like this video. Subscribe to my channel. Links are down in the description below. Keep it metal and have an excellent and blessed day, y'all. Prost.